clothes off and ran out into the street and all of this, which they say artists do when they go through that one. And yeah, man, that's how.
Now, if the government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being, they have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
Imagine for a moment the meteoric rise of a young artist caught up in the glitz and glam of the music industry. A youngster who gets the golden ticket, leaving behind his ordinary life for the dizzying lights of celebrity. Sounds like a dream come true, right? Well, for Lil Jerome Childers, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare, as his path to fame allegedly exposed him to the dark underbelly of the industry, and the man at the center of it all, Sean Diddy Combs. Buckle up, because this story is not for the faint-hearted.
I know one kid, his name is Jerome, Lil Jerome Childers. He's a gospel dude, and he had a real crazy...
Lil Jerome's story starts off like a classic showbiz fairy tale. Born Stanley Jerome Childers in Akron, Ohio, he showed an early passion for music, singing with his sister's band and catching the attention of local musicians. Through a series of connections, his demos landed in the hands of none other than Diddy himself. Now, Diddy was known for having an eye for talent. He was already a big name by the time Jerome came into the picture. Having made his mark with the likes of Notorious B.I.G. and Mace, Jerome must have thought he'd hit the jackpot when Diddy arranged for him and his family to fly out to New York for an audition. And Diddy? He was so impressed with the young Jerome that he signed him to Bad Boy Records on the spot. But what seemed like a golden opportunity quickly began to reveal a much darker side.
So why does it all come to a head now? Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time, like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Oh, yeah, no.
Jerome, or Lil Jerome as he became known, was reportedly only 9 years old when he signed with Diddy, though various accounts later tried to blur the timeline, with some saying he was 11 or 12. Jerome himself clarified in an old interview on Bad Boy Blog, stating, "I was about 9.5. Already, there was something unsettling about the way his age seemed to shift, almost as if the industry didn't want people to realize just how young he was." His early career at Bad Boy Records was a whirlwind. Imagine mingling with stars like Jay-Z, Mariah Carey, and Timbaland before you even hit your teenage years. But this isn't where the story takes a turn. It's the strange initiation rituals and the isolation that truly begin to hint at the chaos lurking beneath the surface.
It's my initial reaction because that's how I always feel when I see situations like this. And then there's this weird sense of grief because it is Diddy, right? Diddy is a hip hop hero. He's an ordinary person who did extraordinary things. To sit here and act like the man wasn't a huge part of our upbringing is a damn lie. So there's this weird sense of grief. Like another one of our heroes has ruined their legacy and it's their own fault because of poor choices.
Diddy's so-called initiation rituals are something of an industry legend. Dark tales whispered in corridors, but rarely acknowledged out loud. According to Mark Curry, a former Bad Boy artist, there was something called the B-egg test. It sounds bizarre, but the idea was that new artists had to go through humiliating stunts like breaking eggs and enduring strange challenges. Curry even claimed that some young artists were made to perform these stunts as a twisted way of proving they were ready for fame. It was like some kind of hazing ritual, but for youngsters barely out of elementary school. And the craziest part, Diddy, the mogul everyone trusted, was right there overseeing it all. When it came to Lil Jerome, rumors swirled that his own initiation was no less disturbing.
She come to the studio every day. Get in. She come to the studio every day.
To make matters worse, Jerome's father, who had moved with him to New York and acted as his manager, was apparently not as protective as one might hope. Instead, it seems he left Jerome to fend for himself more often than not, and Diddy was the one holding the reins. With Jerome left to navigate this new world practically on his own, he became incredibly vulnerable. It's no wonder that years later, Jerome would come to describe his time at Bad Boy as the beginning of a long spiral that left him emotionally scarred. In public interviews, he's mentioned how the pressure of the music business led him to a nervous breakdown in his early teens. Imagine the toll it must take on a youngster to be thrust into that kind of environment, exposed to adult pressures, with little to no guidance from a trustworthy mentor.
And it seemed like every artist, at least every major artist that was under him, got a gripe with him. Like he wronged them in some kind of way.
Jerome's breakdown wasn't just about the psychological toll. It was also deeply physical. As he went through puberty, he started experiencing issues with his voice, an absolute nightmare for a young singer. He wasn't just dealing with the usual voice changes that come with growing up. He developed something called reflux disease, which made it difficult for him to sing at all. As he recalled in an interview, "I'd try to hit notes and nothing would come out, and nothing would come out." This wasn't just a case of bad timing. It's almost as if his body was rebelling against the very industry that had promised him the world.
It was just an escape for me. I was just young, like everybody,
in the industry and people in the world who experiment and do.
While all of this was happening, Diddy's label wasn't exactly known for its patience. They wanted results, and they wanted them fast. The studio schedules were relentless, the pressure mounting, and Jerome just couldn't keep up. His health was failing, his emotions were in turmoil, and it seemed like no one was really there to help him through it. Finally, after enduring all of this, Jerome left Bad Boy at the age of 13. Reflecting on his departure, he stated, "It was a mixture of the growing pains and the pressure of the music business." But anyone reading between the lines could tell that this wasn't just about the music. It was about survival. He was a youngster who had been thrown into the deep end and left to sink or swim.
It's so funny what's happening with Diddy because this was inevitable.
At this point, one might wonder if Jerome's experience was unique or if it pointed to a larger problem within the industry. And here's where things start to get even more tangled. Over the years, Diddy has been associated with numerous other young artists, some of whom have struggled with their own personal demons. Take Justin Bieber, for instance. When Bieber was just starting out, he and Diddy were often seen together, with Diddy even gifting Bieber a car for his 16th birthday. For a while, it seemed like a typical mentor-mentee relationship, but as Bieber's career progressed, he too started showing signs of trouble. There were the cryptic social media posts, the sudden breakdowns, the struggles with mental health. It was almost as if he were echoing Jerome's trajectory, a chilling reminder that maybe, just maybe, the pressures of fame were more than a young person could handle.
And in this lawsuit, he claims that essentially P. Diddy was the Epstein of the rap industry.
In fact, fans have long speculated that some of Bieber's music hints at darker experiences. His music video for Yummy is filled with imagery that some have interpreted as a critique of the industry, with unsettling visuals that seem to suggest a youngster being served up as a commodity. It's all very cryptic, but for those willing to dig a little deeper, it paints a picture of a young artist who may have seen more than he lets on. And while it's all speculation, it does make one wonder, is there a pattern here? Are these young stars drawn to Diddy's charisma and influence actually being sucked into a world they're unprepared for?
I mean, I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
The more one looks into these connections, the more disturbing it all becomes. Diddy has always maintained a powerful image, an impresario who helped shape the hip-hop landscape. But beneath that glossy exterior, there are tales that suggest a much darker reality. With each new lawsuit and accusation, the facade starts to crumble a little more. It's almost as if Diddy's empire, built on the dreams of young artists, might have been constructed on a foundation of secrets and shadows. And what's more, the latest round of lawsuits suggests that Jerome might not be the only one who was affected.
And we are getting word that that these accusers could soon testify in front of a grand jury in New York, and that one accuser is from Detroit.
Recently, the rumors have reached a fever pitch. New lawsuits accuse Diddy of a pattern of behavior that spans decades, with accusations involving numerous young individuals, some even younger than Jerome when he first signed with Bad Boy. As attorney Tony Busby hinted in a recent press conference, the day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there are a lot of names. It seems this is just the beginning, with the potential for more explosive revelations about high-profile figures who may have been involved or at least complicit. Busby and his team have reportedly gathered substantial evidence, including videos, text messages, and even hospital records, painting a picture of systematic misconduct that could send shockwaves through the entertainment world.
Think you're right, Puff, dude. He might need to get out of here.
Just get,
it's over with. You did your thing.
You had a hell of a run.
That's it.
And you still have hundreds of millions of dollars.
And while Diddy's legal team has been quick to dismiss these allegations, as part of the media circus, the gravity of the claims can't be ignored. With every new detail that emerges, it becomes harder to look away. For years, Diddy has portrayed himself as a philanthropist, a family man, and a successful businessman. But as more stories like Jerome's come to light, that image seems increasingly at odds with the alleged reality behind the scenes. It's a strange dichotomy. The same man who threw lavish parties, who hobnobbed with royalty and Hollywood's elite, now stands accused of abuses that seem more like scenes from a crime thriller than real life. And perhaps what's most chilling is that this might not even be the end of it. As more victims find the courage to step forward, the world is left to wonder, just how deep does this go? Are there more Jeromes out there? Young artists whose voices were silenced before they even had a chance to speak?
That this is the end of the Diddy story as we know it.
And that brings us back to Lil Jerome himself. Since leaving the music industry, he's largely stayed out of the public eye, focusing on his family and advocating for Alzheimer's awareness, a cause close to his heart given his family's history with the disease. But as these new lawsuits unfold, one can't help but think of him, a youngster who might have been at the very start of a long line of individuals whose lives were forever changed by their brush with the music industry. Will he find justice in the wake of these new allegations? Only time will tell, but for now, one thing is certain, Lil Jerome's story is a haunting reminder of the cost of fame, especially when it comes too soon and at too high a price.
I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted.
As the story unfolds, it's clear that there are many more layers to peel back and possibly more shocking truths to uncover. Diddy's empire might seem unshakable, but with every new accusation, the cracks are beginning to show. The question is, will those cracks widen into a collapse, or will Diddy find a way to weather the storm once again? As for Jerome and the other potential victims, the hope is that their voices will finally be heard and that justice, however delayed, will ultimately be served. And that brings us to Diddy's current legal battles and the mysterious arrests that seem to signal a much bigger investigation underway.
It's getting hot. Yeah, it absolutely is. Another layer to this story, Anne-Marie. A federal investigation into Combs has been ongoing, but he has not been charged with a crime.
Just when you think things couldn't get any crazier, the story takes an even wilder turn. As if Lil Jerome's experience and the mounting accusations weren't enough, the authorities have now stepped in with full force. You'd think Diddy was untouchable, right? But no, it seems that even his empire has started to crumble under the weight of these shocking allegations. Recently, we saw Diddy being taken into custody on charges that are serious enough to make headlines everywhere. And folks, this isn't just your everyday legal drama. This is a federal investigation with a whole lot of weight behind it.
The issue is, it seems as though he wants to kind of like exert power and dominance over people who don't really want it.
The FBI, Homeland Security, and other big players have joined forces to unravel what they believe could be a long history of misconduct. Back in March, Diddy's properties in both Los Angeles and Miami were raided in what looked like a coordinated move to dig up all the skeletons in his closet. And apparently, the authorities weren't just after some minor stuff. According to various sources, they were looking for evidence that could link Diddy to a sprawling network of misconduct that allegedly spans several decades and involves dozens of individuals.
That's of course. There's layers upon layers. When you get into these conspiracy theories, man, they never end. They never end. There's just layers upon layers upon layers.
But here's the twist that has everyone talking. There are rumors that these federal agents weren't just looking for physical evidence. There's speculation that they were hunting for video footage that could expose some truly wild secrets about Diddy and potentially other celebrities as well. It's been said that Diddy kept extensive recordings of his infamous parties, and we're not just talking about harmless fun. These tapes supposedly feature some pretty high-profile guests doing things they'd rather the world didn't know about. So, as you can imagine, these raids have everyone in Hollywood on edge.
And a lot of the evidence, alleged evidence, that's been gathered in this case was from those two raids that were conducted on his personal homes in Miami and Los Angeles. And the indictment names the things seized that he allegedly made videos of these performances that have been named freak-offs.
What makes it even juicier is that Suge Knight, yes, the same Suge Knight who's been a part of some of hip-hop's biggest dramas, recently added fuel to the fire. He claimed that Diddy has been an informant for federal agencies for years. Now, this might sound like some wild conspiracy theory, but Suge's words have raised eyebrows, especially given Diddy's uncanny ability to dodge trouble in the past. Suge suggested that Diddy's cooperation with the authorities might be what's kept him out of serious legal trouble all these years. But now it seems like the tables have turned, and Diddy could be on the brink of facing the music himself. As the case against Diddy continues to unfold, it's becoming clear that this isn't an isolated incident. We're talking about an investigation that could drag down everyone around him. Picture this: a whole network of high-profile names who have crossed paths with Diddy, whether at his wild parties or through business deals, might be caught in the crossfire. And yes, this includes some of the biggest stars we all know, A-list actors, music icons, and even members of royalty. One name that has come up in these swirling rumors is none other than Justin Bieber, who, as we mentioned before, has had his fair share of mysterious struggles that some fans now wonder might be connected to Diddy's shadowy influence.
Don't think he don't know. You pay those lawyers to know. Those lawyers know what he's going to beat, and those lawyers know what he ain't going to beat.
But it doesn't stop there. Over the years, Diddy has mingled with a host of celebrities, from Leonardo DiCaprio to Kim Kardashian, and the speculation is that some of these famous faces might have been present at events where the boundaries of acceptable behavior were seriously crossed. And if the rumors about these tapes are true, it's possible that the fallout from this case could extend far beyond Diddy himself. Imagine what would happen if footage were to surface showing some of Hollywood's most respected figures involved in scandalous activities. It would be a bombshell, the kind of thing that could shake the entertainment world to its core.
And let me tell you something else. Not only should he have apologized to Cassie in that video, he should have apologized to all of the general public that he lied to. Yeah.
Now, in response to all this, Diddy's legal team has been doing everything in their power to keep him out of the spotlight, or at least to shield him from the worst of it. His attorneys have called the investigation a witch hunt, and they're insisting that all these allegations are baseless. But here's the thing. The federal agents wouldn't be putting in this level of effort if they didn't have something substantial to go on. According to attorney Tony Busby, who's representing some of the plaintiffs in this case, they've got what he describes as overwhelming evidence that could bring Diddy's entire empire crashing down. This includes everything from text messages to police reports and even hospital records. So while Diddy's camp is trying to paint this as a smear campaign, it looks like the authorities might be playing a much bigger game. There's also talk that the authorities are keeping things under wraps for now, but that they plan to release more details as they gather enough evidence to make their case airtight. And Busby has hinted that he's not stopping with Diddy. He's promised to name other high-profile figures who might be implicated, so we could be looking at a scandal of epic proportions. Imagine waking up to find out that some of the biggest names in entertainment are suddenly facing accusations that could potentially end their careers. It's almost like something out of a movie, but this is real life, and the stakes are sky high.
In that video, totally eviscerated his credibility.
And what about Diddy's former collaborators and associates? It's worth noting that a lot of them have remained suspiciously quiet about all of this. We're talking about people who, over the years, have been close enough to Diddy to have seen some of his less than glamorous side. Mark Curry, for instance, has spoken out, but there are plenty of others who haven't said a word. Could it be that they're afraid of getting dragged into the mess themselves? Or maybe they know things that they don't want to become public. Either way, their silence speaks volumes, and as this case unfolds, you can bet that more names will come to light.
Nor did you apologize for lying that you didn't do what you knew you was on tape doing. So who was this apology for? I'll tell you who it was for. Diddy's ego. Diddy's brand. Diddy and his handlers are looking at this all wrong. You're trying to salvage his professional career.
One of the strangest aspects of this entire saga is the way the music industry itself has reacted, or failed to react it, in many cases. You'd expect that an investigation of this magnitude would spark some kind of public outcry, but instead, there's been a kind of eerie quiet. Sure, there's been gossip and people are talking behind the scenes, but there hasn't been the kind of widespread condemnation you might expect. It's almost as if the industry is holding its breath, waiting to see what happens next. After all, if Diddy goes down, who knows how many other powerful figures might be implicated. For now, it seems like everyone is just trying to protect their own interests, hoping that they won't be the next ones to get caught up in the storm.
Stevie J, the Usher part, that's a touchy situation, man.
As for Diddy himself, sources close to him say that he's preparing for a long and grueling battle. He's already put together a top-notch legal team, and he's reportedly willing to spend whatever it takes to clear his name. But with so many people coming forward and with the weight of the federal investigation bearing down on him, it's hard to see how he's going to come out of this unscathed. Even if he manages to avoid jail time, his reputation might never recover. After all, in the court of public opinion, the damage is already done. People are talking, speculating, and piecing together the clues, and it seems like everyone has an opinion on whether Diddy is guilty or not.
Into thinking that this is the way because this is what they know.
This isn't just about one man's fall from grace. It's about the potential unraveling of an entire network of influence and power. The entertainment industry has long been known for its dark side, but cases like this bring it into sharp focus, forcing us to confront the reality of what goes on behind the scenes. With each new allegation, each new piece of evidence, it becomes harder to ignore the fact that there might be a whole lot more to this story than anyone is willing to admit.
And there has been a lot going on. Since November, there have been 8 civil lawsuits filed against Diddy. 7 of them accuse him of assault.
So, as we wait for the next chapter in this saga, one thing is clear. Diddy's days of living in the fast lane might finally be catching up to him. The public is watching, the authorities are closing in, and the list of accusations just keeps growing. It's a dramatic fall from the top for a man who once seemed untouchable. And as the case unfolds, we're left to wonder just how many more shocking revelations are yet to come. Will Diddy be able to clear his name, or are we witnessing the end of an era? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this unfolding saga.